Perfect. We're back again, and we are ready to start. We see that most attendees are already in. We still expect some more attendees to come in later on, but considering we are pretty stringent on time, it's good for us to start. So welcome to today's webinar on modernizing outdated core applications, a webinar organized by USoft, and in this case, together with one of our partners. So what we will be focusing on today is how you as an organization can approach modernization projects specifically focused on core applications. And today we will focus on both the digital transformation part as well as the technology part. And presenting your speakers for today, today's webinar will be organized by USoft in cooperation with Ruurd Portman, CEO from PIT, a digital transformation consultancy expert, also specialized in modernization projects for core applications. And myself, Hans Canisius, as CEO from USoft, and we are the provider of a local platform specialized in developing core applications for mission-critical processes within organizations, including modernization. So what I will do is I will hand over to Ruurd as a first speaker, touching upon digital transformation approach. And please note that throughout the webinar, you can submit questions through the environment that you're in. We will try to cover your questions when we can, but if there's not sufficient time, we will make sure to circle back to you after the webinar to discuss and answer your questions in full detail. So we hope you enjoy. Thank you very much for being here. And please provide us your feedback throughout the presentation. And we will start off with Ruurd covering the approach for digital transformation and modernization projects.
Thank you, Hans.
Go ahead, Ruurd.
Okay, thank you for your introduction, Hans. Good morning, my name is Ruurd Portman. We are talking about modernization of outdated core applications today. First, I would like to zoom in some opportunities of modernization core applications. And after that, I will dive into the vision and approach. So the core elements of effective modernization. Let's first start to view the opportunities of modernizing outdated core applications. The first opportunity is that there's a clarity about the desired functionality because users already have experience with the system to be modernized. They know what works well, what functionality is lacking. They know the current workarounds, mostly supported by shadow IT. So you could use this information, this knowledge, to create a better, completer, and more modern alternative. That's the first opportunity. The second opportunity is that there's a clarity about the digital environment the system is functioning in. So an existing environment means that there's clarity about the needed interfaces, the information that is needed by surrounding systems, and also needed by surrounding actors. So you can look at the current interface, but you should also follow the manual transfers of information in the current environment, in the current system. So you have to use this information to create an alternative that is faster and less error prone. So without manual interfaces, for instance. And the third opportunity, the final opportunity we discussed today, is that you have chance to reshape the support of your business process. So instead of just copying the current application with modern tools, you should use the opportunity to redesign the way your business is supported nowadays with the technology of today. Because the current system is created in a time where the business processes were different than your needs of today. So you should use this opportunity to create a more supportive alternative, matching the needs of the business process of today. Well, to redeem these opportunities, you need first an holistic approach for the definition phase. So you have to define what you would like to do. And then you need an appropriate tool for realization. I will dive into the holistic approach. And after me, Hans will dive into the appropriate tool for realization, how to select an appropriate tool. So the vision and approach. I will dive into the core elements of effective modernization. As we see it, you will need three pillars for digital success. You will need a clear course, based on the clear course, you should formulate a practical plan. And based on the practical plan, you have to take targeted action. You cannot leave one, do the one without the other. So you can take targeted action if you don't have a plan. And you can't formulate a practical plan if you don't have a clear course. So what you should do is just set a clear course, make a practical plan, and take targeted action. And that together it sums up to effective digitalization. We can just one by one copy it to modernization. You also will need a clear course, a practical plan, and targeted action for effective modernization. To be honest, if you look at the approach of most mainly hands-on companies, you can see that setting the course is quite difficult. So most companies skip that. As a result, they also have to skip the practical plan, because if you don't have a course, you can't make a plan. So the only thing that is left is taking action. And most hands-on companies are very good in taking action, but it will always lead to digital drama, because the action you take is untargeted. You don't really know what you are aiming for. How do you recognize digital drama when it comes to modernization projects? Is, for instance, you create a new application supporting all processes because you didn't take the time to redefine the business process support. Or you use new technology forced in antique patterns because you just copy the current system, which is built with patterns from that day that the system is created. Or you have a modernized solution missing functionalities. So you introduce shadow IT by design because you didn't take the effort and the time to look into the current shadow IT or the current functionalities that are missing. And in that way, you also rebuild frustration from the past. And you can also come into the situation that you introduce new shadow IT by introducing the new system, because you didn't take the effort and the time to analyze what information is needed by the digital environment. So when you put it all together, then you could get in the situation that a small project that should just rebuild the existing application ends up in a never-ending time and money-consuming process. So I'm quite curious. Do you as an attendee, as an audience, do you recognize one or more of these symptoms? Maybe if you do so, please give a reaction in the chat functionality. I'm very curious if you recognize one or more of these symptoms. Nothing is coming in, eh? Okay. That's a pity. Well, the right approach will prevent the digital drama. It will ensure effective modernization, and it creates a better, a faster, simpler, and also more modern company. So how would be the right approach? Well, exists apparently in 3 steps, out of 3 steps. You have to create insight and set a clear course. That's the first step. It's closely related to the pillars I just explained. You have to make a practical plan and to take targeted action. Now, for this approach, based on these 3 pillars, we formulated 4 products we deliver as PIT. We call it PIT 2. PIT 2 delivers a clear insight in just 2 weeks. We deliver a clear course during PIT 3. We do it in 3 weeks. And in PIT 4, we create a practical plan. And together with PIT 2, 3, and 4, we can deliver those products in a fixed price and schedule. And after PIT 4, we can also manage the realization project. And we call that PIT 351. And maybe you wonder where the 351 stands for. Well, if you add 351 with 4, 2, and 3, you come to 360. So during the 351, we make the circle round. So the right approach, let's dive into the first 3 products. It's a coherent, 3 coherent products. So if you put them in a timeline, you can see we start with PIT 2. We create a visual representation of the current situation based on interviews. During PIT 3, which follows PIT 2 apparently, we designed the course based on some fixed workshops, sorry. And during PIT 4, we create the plan to create the desired situation based on starting with the current situation. So let's have a quick look at PIT 2, the insights or the contents of PIT 2. We create a clear insight. So how do you really work currently? Well, this the will to change or commitment from your the inside of your or the employees of your company and understanding all begin with insight. So we deliver clear insight in the current situation. So in the current information flow per process per department, and we deliver a clear visualization that is understandable and appealing to all stakeholders. So everyone can see the current way of working, very visual, and we do it based on some interviews, based on a fixed interview template, which works very well, so that we can gather the information very efficiently. This is an example. You cannot read it, so don't worry. This is a visualization of the current way of working of a particular client of us. How it's built up is in the middle you see the processes. On the right you see the information systems that are related to the processes. This is of one department, to be clear. And on the left you see the actors of the surrounding actors of the processes. So when you dive into them, the process consists of a list of actions being done in one of the main tasks. On the left, you see the actors who deliver and receive information. And on the right, you see the systems that deliver and store information. And when you look at the typical outdated core application in this process, you see very much information going in and out, but all done manually. So all information that is stored in the system is entered through a manual process, or it's retrieved with a manual process. This is typical and outdated core application. And when you look at the other side, the actors, they are receiving information which originating from the core system, mainly through manual processes, so by email. So they communicate via email and they get answers via email with the department of this process. So this is the insight part. So in PIT 3, we define a clear course based on in 3 steps with 6 workshops. So the first step, we go into the question what you would like to strengthen or improve in your current way of working. And when we talk about improve, we mainly look in along the perspectives on the right. We look in the supply chain processes, in the internal work processes, in the interaction with your customers, in the inhibitors from the perspective of employees, and in the way you define or deliver your products. In the second step, we answer the question on what you would like to anticipate on as a company. So what are the developments, what are the digital trends you would like to have an answer to? And the third step is to set a course. So what do you have to do as a company? What do you need? And what would you be capable of to have an answer to those first 2 steps? And we do it all based on our workbook, Going Digital Effectively. It's a practical step-by-step plan, including workshop templates, to set a clear course. And after this webinar, you can download it for free. And in the final step, PIT 4, well, we define the practical plan to facilitate targeted action. So from course to plan, we have 4 steps. Starting at the first step, it's the current situation. It's actually PIT 2. And then in the second step, we design a target situation. We define the transition path from the current situation to the target situation. And in step 4, we add the priorities, the phasing, and the budget in time and money. So, and it could look like this. In the left, you see a complete list of projects or other mutations you have to implement in your current company. And on the right, a Gantt chart, a high-level Gantt chart of this project program. So now I discussed all PIT 2, 3, and 4 products, and to have a brief look at PIT 351. It's a targeted action. In that case, we can give you support on the phase from action plan to result with targeted action. We can act as a card tracer, advisor, or driver of the modernization project. And we can also manage the modernization projects itself as a product owner or project manager, program manager, whatever is needed. So this brings me to the end of my part. A short wrap up. We started at the opportunities of modernizing outdated core applications, and we ended up with our vision and approach on modernization projects. I would like to invite Hans to do his part.
Thank you, Ruurd. That was from a technology provider interesting to hear. And I suggest that we pick up where Ruurd left off. So now that you have a clear picture on where you want to go, what is crucial for your success, and what you need to do, we come to the next step, which is focusing on how do you select the right technology. And let me start off by saying that as a technology provider, we are fully aware that there are tons of options available in the market. And it is my personal belief that there is no silver bullet. So it's always a question of mapping the right technology that fits with your specific case. For instance, low code, which is USoft, which is something that is provided by USoft, is a critical technology, but it's also always part of a stack that you use as an organization. So let's dive into the details of how you derive to a technology selection. And first off, it's interesting to start with how still many organizations view the area of technology selection. And in many cases, situations, the case is that they look at either commercial off the shelf, so standard solutions that you can buy and configure and use, or custom or high code programming. So basically building an application or another piece of software from scratch. But there's also an intermediate form, which is called low code. And the idea behind low code is basically that you have a combination between commercial off the shelf and high code. So the essential technology behind low code is that a large part of the automation or the programming work is automated through a platform. So it helps you as an organization, as a user, to speed up the development process and simplify the maintenance part of any software that you would like to develop. So the interesting thing is that if you look at the different options, you can either use a standard solution that could be an ERP or something related to finance or any other type of business process. You can custom code everything from scratch, or you can use a technology that is in the middle that you can use to speed up the development process, but still ensure that what you are creating is specifically tailored for your specific needs. And it's not that one is better than the other. There are inherent advantages and disadvantages to every method. And it's always key to select the right technology for you. But briefly looking at these options, it's important to compare what the primary advantages and disadvantages are. And it's interesting because you see that with commercial off the shelf and with high code, you are basically in a sort of juxtaposition. It could be either a core benefit, or if you don't carefully manage the project, which is why we always opt for a digital transformation consultant like PIT, is that you are on a slippery slope towards some of the disadvantages. So for instance, if you look at commercial off the shelf, in most cases, these are very good to pretty good solutions that you can use, and they cover large parts of the basic process that you need to run as an organization. But what we've seen in the last 10 to 15 years is that many organizations tend to do a lot of customization within these commercial off-the-shelf systems. And as a result, you no longer have all the benefits of commercial off-the-shelves, like for instance, speed and customization options, but it becomes a very rigid system that is no longer commercial off-the-shelf, but tailored to you and very difficult for you to adapt to, with often high cost and high rigidity as a result. On the other hand, high code can be very beneficial for you as well. Typically, it's a bit more time consuming, but it always makes sure that it specifically does what you need. And if you do that very focused, it has a very good cost benefit. But if you don't watch out as well, you do a lot of custom coding in something that could also be covered commercially off the shelf. Now, one of the benefits of low-code technology, and that could be for application development, for integration, or any type of other software that you need, is that it actually provides a lot of combined benefits of commercial off-the-shelf and high coding. So it provides standard building blocks, speed of development, ease of customization, but it also allows for things that are very specific to you. And of course, if you have a selection of, for instance, a combination between these technologies, it's always important to consider how good they are in combination together. But it's important as an organization to consider, and that's going back to Ruurd's story, what type of technology you use for what specific purpose. And in this case, we are going back a little bit to what Ruurd said before, because we as a technology provider think that you as an organization should always focus on that part of your business that allows you to digitally differentiate and digitally win. And if you look at the processes within an organization, what you typically see is that, in this case, visualized by a pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid mostly comprises of a lot of standard processes like finance, HR, for instance, warehouse management or ERP. And those type of processes are, in most cases, very well supported by a standard commercial off-the-shelf system. But as you move up in your organization, the uniqueness of your processes and the competitive power of your processes are increasing, which means that they are more specific to you, and therefore they allow you an opportunity to digitally differentiate compared to your competitors. And it's our strong belief as a software provider that you should always try to avoid focusing a lot of custom work on the standard process layer. If there's a good commercial off-the-shelf system, you shouldn't hesitate and you should use it, because that allows your organization to focus much more on those processes that make a difference and that help your organization excel compared to your competitors. And this is also what we believe from a technology provider. Like I mentioned before, we are a low-code provider, so we provide a platform specialized in complex core operations. So you can build anything from a custom ERP with USoft to intelligent microservices. But we always strongly believe in use what's available in the market, and when there's a high percentage of fit, you should never doubt. I mean, if you have a standard ERP function, finance function, and there's a package in the market available that almost or perfectly fits that situation, even if there's a positive case for using other technology, you should strongly consider commercial off the shelf, because it will make sure that you are not distracted from those very standard processes, and you can focus on that what differentiates you. What we see in the market, however, is that a lot of organizations, and that's also part of the reason why you need a clear plan and targeted action, they can perfectly work with commercial off the shelf, but they need additional automation to fully support their primary business processes. And in this case, in the past, we've seen that a lot of organizations custom code on top of within, for instance, their ERP. And we now see a rationalization and modernization approach where these customizations are taken out of the ERP or other systems and put into intelligent platforms, like, for instance, low code, to help the organization differentiate more rapidly on these specific processes. And only in cases where the uniqueness of the process or the competitive power of the process is that important that it really needs to be specifically tailored to you, that is when you should consider making something custom that could be large or small. And you can do that with either high code or low code, with some significant benefits of using low code in terms of speed and total cost of ownership. So it's important to stress that even though we are a technology provider, we fully consider that as an organization, there's a range of options that you need to consider, and you need to consider those carefully because they fundamentally influence whether you are distracted by focusing on standard processes or whether you are really focused on making a difference from a digital perspective. Now, looking at USoft as a low-code provider, it's important to explain a little bit about what we do and to also show you how we approach modernization projects of legacy software. So key to stress is that we are a low-code specialist focused on complex core applications. So whether it's a simple application, just exposing some information, there are tons of technologies that you can cover that with. But if it's really complex, data intensive, and the data quality and the rules that you need to be processed by the application are critical to your organization, that is within our sweet spot. So we are very much business rules focused, which is a bit different than other technology, but that means that we always look at what the business process is and what business rules your business applies, and that is transferred to software. So without making this a lecture on business processes and rules, it's always a little bit important to touch upon the difference, because in many cases, we are brought up in a world where we consider processes to be a sort of BPMN diagram, the typical Visio charts that we know. But what many organizations still lack to really fully understand is that there are a lot of process or a lot of business rules underlying those processes that are as critical to the whole digital transformation process. Because if you automate a process flow without proper attention to the business rules, the software that will support your business will not do exactly what you need. And this is also why you see there's a very important strength in commercial off-the-shelf. They have these standard best practices processes, but in the very specific situations that need to be tailored to your organization, it really touches upon the specific rules that your business applies, and those often need to be placed in some sort of software that really helps you to add on top of those commercial off-the-shelf systems. Now, there's an inherent power in using business rules. It's a bit of a different approach to software development, but the important thing is, and I'm starting at point 5 and then I'll work from 1 to 4, is that it's 100% business focus. So a business rule has nothing to do with IT, and that's a good thing because it's the starting point of everything that you should do, whether it's digital or not. So a customer that needs to be 18 years or older is an example of a simple business rule, but it's purely a business rule. So it has nothing to do with an IT implementation yet. And in addition to that, rules are very specific and they are easy to read and share because they are in natural language. And they are autonomous. So instead of evaluating a process, which can be short or very long and lengthy in terms of to see exactly how it works and where the anomalies are, a business rule is very concise and easy to validate whether it's right or wrong by the business. And that makes them very stable over time. So we have been developing software based on business rules for over 30 years, complex core systems and intelligent add-ons on core systems. And what we've seen is that the stability of the software that we provide based on business rules in general is much more robust over time compared to flow-oriented software, meaning that we sometimes have total cost of ownership cases that are about 200-300% more efficient compared to standard solutions or other custom code solutions, basically because we solidify these business rules and they tend to be very stable over time within an organization. So before we move to the modernization part, it's important to stress, and this is also why we firmly believe in working, for instance, together with organizations like PIT or specialists within your organization. It's a business process that you want to automate and that you want to support. So it should be 100% business focus. And this is also what we do from a software vendor perspective. We always start with mapping the business process and the business rules in natural language. And only then do we move to developing software, basically mirroring that business process and the rules. So that means that any software that you develop is always a spitting image of exactly the business rules that you need to be executed. And therefore, it's extremely powerful in helping you as an organization differentiate. And whether that's a full core system or on top of commercial off the shelf, it really helps you to focus on where you can make a difference. So to conclude with regards to low-code, what we see is that in the past 10 to 15 years, it has been a key driver for digital transformation because it improves the development speed of organizations. It enhances productivity of business and IT teams, and therefore It streamlines the collaboration between business and IT because it's very much business focused. And as a result, your organization becomes more agile. You can rapidly prototype new solutions to support your business. You can rapidly bring them up to speed. You can change them. The ease of maintenance is more simple. And overall, what we see as a result is that the total cost of ownership that you as an organization have becomes much more beneficial compared to traditional solutions, because you can innovate fast, deliver fast, work together more productively, and basically realize more with less people. So the impact that your people can make increases even with the same amount of people that you have. Okay, and then we come to the topic of modernization. So a specific problem that we see in organizations today is you've got outdated applications, and how can you effectively modernize these? And the important thing is what Ruurd already mentioned in the beginning. You need to really consider, what do I want to achieve? So just building what you already have will probably not suffice for today and for the future. So again, that business starting point is critical. What are your needs and necessities? What are your wishes? And exactly what type of solution do you need to deliver? But then when we start to modernize systems as a technology provider, what we often see is that many of these systems lock in a lot of very critical business knowledge, which many people have either forgotten, the people who built them are gone or retired. And as an organization, you are basically searching what type of business knowledge you need to regain. So what we do for that is that we have a typical piece of technology in-house that we can use to help you streamline and lower the risks of modernization projects. So consider that you want to modernize a legacy application that is comprised of many functions and a pretty large amount of code. What we do is that we analyze this code and we separate it into smaller functional pieces. So the result for you as an organization is that you don't have to do a sort of big bang modernization, but you can incrementally do function by function, meaning that you lower the inherent risk of modernization, and it allows you to really focus for each specific function. What do I need to do? What knowledge do I need to regain? And what do I want to add to the new environment to help my business going forward? So it really lowers the risks, it boosts the quality, and it provides much more control overall of the modernization process. Now, and once we have analyzed the code, we basically come into a sort of cycle where we analyze the code in more detail. We extract a lot of business knowledge that is locked into the code. So for instance, what data is used, what is effective code, what is ineffective code, the business rules that are locked into the code. And we basically regain all this business knowledge. We map it again in natural language in our product. And then we sit together with the business and a digital transformation consultant to sort of see how we can add additional functions required before we develop the software. So you not just regain knowledge locked into the legacy code, but you also focus on what does the new software have to do in order to fully support your business today and tomorrow. And we do this for each iteration so that we gradually migrate your legacy application to a full-on new and future-proof solution. And the interesting thing here is that there are various cases. So for instance, this is an important customer of ours where we are in the midst or concluding a modernization project. And what we are doing here is that we are analyzing this code, but parts of the solution are realized in Microsoft Dynamics, a very good commercial off-the-shelf systems for most of the processes. But there are very specific functions that are difficult or impossible to realize. And so they are built in USoft on top of CRM and or ERP, sorry. So the interesting thing here is that you see a very good combination between the best of both worlds. So we utilize the best of what commercial off-the-shelf has to offer, and we combine that with that specific functions that you need in a platform that allows you to quickly build those applications and change them going forward. And the same accounts for instance, Plurifar, customer of ours, where we support JD Edwards ERP system, also with some very specific functions underneath that provide functionality that is typically not available within JD Edwards or very costly to realize, with the result that you move away from all the benefits of commercial off-the-shelf. And finally, I'm quickly looking at the time. I think we are pretty fine. Another interesting client is, for instance, Schiphol Airport, a very mature IT organization with a lot of well-functioning systems. And their specific need was, how can we put intelligence or sort of intelligence layer on top of all these systems, making sure that we don't have to change all these complex core systems, making it costly, but also more rigid, and providing flexibility to our business to continuously improve and adapt how we want to manage our ongoing operations without continuously going back to changing core systems. So it's a really efficient way of not having to disinvest in systems that are working pretty well, only modernizing what you need to modernize, and in addition to that, adding additional intelligence, better supporting your organization. So really in that unique DNA layer of the pyramid, with using the maximum of with maximizing of what you already have in-house. So I can imagine that it's a lot of information in a fairly short time, but there are some important takeaways that we want to summarize before we enter into the sort of concluding round of this webinar. So there are a few key pointers that we want to provide to you when it comes to effective digital transformation and modernization. And the important thing is, and even from a technology provider point of view, we always stress this, it's a business process. IT is a supporting mechanism, can be a very powerful enabler, but it's really a business process. It's not about getting the technology and fix the problem. It's about what Ruurd said, having a holistic approach, knowing exactly where you need to go, what the course of action is, how you can formulate a practical plan, and then move to targeted actions. And this is also what we stress from a technology standpoint. And in addition to that, and Ruurd mentioned it in his story, and we see it as well, is that as an organization, you should focus on where you can make a digital difference. And that what is functioning well, or that is commercially available, don't use too much time and resources, but really focus on what helps you stand out compared to your competitors. And then move towards technology fit. Like I said, there's no silver bullet, but finding the right technology fit will be much easier if you have a clear course, practical plan, and targeted action. And remind throughout the entire process within your organization, it should always be business first, because that is the part of your organization that needs to work with it and helps you as an organization to grow and become more successful. And Ruurd, yeah, is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, I think we covered the complete story. So we started at the definition phase. We went to the planning phase, and we also discussed how to realize the complete modernization strategy. So I think I have nothing more to add,
Okay.
to be honest.
Perfect. So unfortunately, we are almost run out of time. We did get some pretty detailed questions in, but they're very specific. So what we will do is that we will circle back to the attendants that submitted the questions and see how we can discuss these in more detail. Please don't hesitate to reach out to either Pitt or to USoft if you have any questions in the upcoming days while you are dissecting the information that we've provided to you. And if there is anything that we can support you in the future, don't hesitate to reach out as well. And we will make sure that you will get a link to the video of this webinar so that you can always review certain parts of it in your own time and in your own speed. So yeah, thank you very much. Hope to see you again soon. And yeah, great to see so many people in this first webinar together with Pitt.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ruurd. Yeah, great.
Thank you, Hans. And have a nice day.
Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.